Welcome, aspirants, to The Explainer. Today we're breaking down the latest NITI Aayog report on India's services sector, and this is an absolutely critical topic for your exams.
So here's the big question, right? The central paradox we're going to unpack today. It's a question that really gets to the heart of India's entire development story.
We structured this explainer like a lecture to help you build a really clear framework for your notes. Okay, let's dive right in.
First, let's try to get a handle on the sheer size of the services sector and this fundamental disconnect that lies at its very core.
Okay, let's start with a number you absolutely have to remember for your exams: 188 million. That's how many people work in India's services sector. To put that into perspective, it's the second biggest employer right after agriculture. And get this, it's added a whopping 40 million jobs in just the last 6 years. Incredible growth.
But here's where the picture starts to get a little more complicated. Even with all that growth, the services sector only accounts for about 30% of our total workforce. You can see agriculture, even though its economic share is shrinking, still employs the biggest chunk of our population, 46%.
And this, right here, brings us to the core paradox. This is the great disconnect. The services sector generates more than half of our economic value. That's GVA, or gross value added, but it's doing all that heavy lifting with less than a third of our workforce. Grasping this disconnect is absolutely key.
Now, for a key piece of jargon you'll see a lot: employment elasticity. It might sound a bit academic, but it's a really simple and powerful idea. It just measures how many jobs get created for every 1% of economic growth. So a higher number means you're getting more job-rich growth. Let's see what the data says.
And wow, this table really tells a story about the sector's resilience. Before COVID, the elasticity for services was, okay at 0.35. But look what happened after the pandemic. It nearly doubled to 0.63. This shows that the services sector became a crucial shock absorber for our labor market, creating jobs right when the economy needed them the most.
Okay, so now that we have the big picture, let's zoom in a bit. Who exactly are these 188 million people? Let's decode the workforce.
The first thing that just jumps out at you is this massive spatial divide. Services are overwhelmingly an urban thing. A full 61% of the urban workforce is in the services sector. Compare that to rural areas, just 19%. A huge difference. Okay, for your exams, you need a way to remember all these different characteristics, right? So here's a little trick for you, a mnemonic to help you structure your answers. Just think of the word SPAGE. It stands for spatial, participation, age, graduation, and earnings. It's a great little framework to cover all the key dimensions.
Now, if we dig into that P for participation, especially for women, well, it's really a tale of two Indias. For urban women, access is pretty high. 60% are employed in services, but they tend to be clustered in just a few areas, like education and health. And in stark contrast, rural women are almost completely left out, with only about 10.5% finding work in this sector.
So, we know who is working in services. But the next big question is, what's the quality of these jobs like? Are they good jobs? This is a really critical area to analyze. And well, the picture is pretty complex.
Get ready for this number, because it is an absolute showstopper. A staggering 87%. That's the percentage of all service jobs in India that are informal. Let that sink in. The vast majority of workers have no social security, no job security, basically no safety net.
Now, let's peel back the layers on that 87%, because what's inside is really interesting. Over half are self-employed, sure, but look at that second chunk. 29% are technically regular wage workers, people with a salary, but they have zero social security. This is a kind of hidden informality. The job might look formal on the surface, but it's missing all the basic protections.
And as you'd expect, all that informality translates into some really deep and frankly shocking wage inequality. The disparity is most glaring in rural areas. A woman working in the rural services sector earns, on average, just 213 rupees a day. That's less than half of what a man earns for similar work. The gap is smaller in cities, but it's still significant.
All right, let's shift gears and look to the future. Where are the next wave of jobs in the services sector actually going to come from? The report paints a picture of a sector that's really split into two very different worlds.
You see, the sector has this dual character. On one side, you have the traditional anchors, things like trade, transport, basic retail. This is where most of the people work, about 155 million of them. But these jobs have low wage growth and high informality.
On the other side, you have modern services like IT, finance, high-end healthcare. These jobs are highly productive, they pay well, but they employ very few people in comparison. This is the structural imbalance at the heart of the whole puzzle. And look, if you need one sentence to sum up this entire problem for your mains answer, this quote from the NITI Aayog report is it. It perfectly captures the tension. Job volume is high where job quality is low, and job quality is high where job volume is low.
So what's the solution? What does the NITI Aayog actually recommend we do about this? And, most importantly for you, what are the absolute must-know takeaways for your exam?
The report lays out a really clear four-pillar strategy to tackle these challenges. Think of these as the building blocks for any policy-based questions. Pillar 1, formalization. Bring more jobs into the formal economy. Pillar 2, inclusion. Make sure women and rural youth get a fair shot at the good jobs. 3, skilling. Prepare the workforce for the future. And 4, regional growth. Spread the development beyond just the big metro cities.
All right, this is it, your final revision slide. If you take a screenshot of anything, make it this one. It's got all the key numbers, the big concepts, and the policy recommendations from our entire discussion. You've got the scale, the paradox, the elasticity, the staggering informality number, those deep divides, the structural dualism, and of course, the four-pillar roadmap. This is your cheat sheet.
So we'll leave you with that question to really think about. The answer to this is going to shape India's entire journey towards its 2047 goals. Thank you for joining us on The Explainer, and all the very best with your preparation.